A pleasant day to all of you who are watching Agenda. Thank you for joining us this day, the 22nd day of the 22nd year of the 2000s. Okay, anyway, just to correct it, it's July 22, 2022. Wag niyong itataya yan, okay? Lalo na yung mahilig sa weteng. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you to the program Agenda. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, for being viewers of One News PH, and of course, to those many of you who still chase after us via Facebook and YouTube dahil nasa malayong lugar kayo. Maraming salamat po. Okay, today, if you happen to be regular readers of my column C-Talk in the Philippine Star, I wrote all about telecoms in the country, and I titled it Build Your Own. Okay, build your own tower. Okay, that's our topic for today, telecoms, and we will tackle the full gamut of topics. But before that, let's go to our daily starter. Our daily starter is, okay, experience is a hard teacher because it gives the tests first before the lesson. I'm not sure of the author, but I think it is one of the pastors I listened to on podcasts, and he pointed out that you learn the lesson, and then you go through the experience, and then you learn the lesson. And many of us have already gone through so many experiences, but we have not learned the lesson. And someone, I think, also added to that, if you did not learn any lesson from all those experiences, then you simply went through the pain and wasted your time. Okay, so please bear that in mind, and I do hope you reflect on that. Let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star for the news, and the headline is Chambers, Biz Groups bear SONA wish list. Okay, the various local and foreign business chambers or chambers of commerce and business groups have come up with their own wish list that they are trying to get backing from President BBM. Many of them are praying, hoping that the president actually receives their wish lists, reads their wish lists, and include their wish lists in the State of the Nation address or in the list of promises. Okay. At the top of the front page of the Philippine Star, teachers seek pay hike and education reforms. Okay. And former PDEA executive named acting customs chief. Now, before all of you violently react, he was not only a former PDEA executive, but from PDEA, he was transferred to the Bureau of Customs during the time of Sid La Peña, who went to the TESDA. Okay, this was during the Duterte administration, and the new customs chief actually was first if I'm not mistaken, the enforcement and interdiction head of the Bureau of Customs. Kumbaga, yung kanilang customs police, he headed that before he was assigned as acting customs chief. Kanya lang, I would suggest that the gentleman prepares himself because siguradong kakangkungin siya sa Kongreso. Okay. Raising campaign spending limit pushed. Okay, politicians and candidates are pushing for the increase in campaign spending. habaan nyo na lang yung campaign period at bawasan nyo yung vote buying. Okay. Now, at the upper portion, you have a photograph of a woman walking past the SONA 2022 tarpaulin in front of Congress in Quezon City yesterday. Now, that other photo in the middle part of the front page is President Marcos congratulating members of the Filipinas football team during the national team's visit to Malacanang yesterday after they recently bagged the Asian Football Federation Women's Championship, which the president described as a great gift to the country and a major achievement for Philippine sports. Okay. Below that, NDRRMC assumes functions of NTF versus COVID-19. And then the expired vaccines translate to 1.3 billion peso losses according to Joey Concepcion of Go Negosyo, and that is only for the losses of the private sector. Hindi pa kasama yung mga nabigay nila sa government. That bottom photo is a group shot at the groundbreaking ceremony recently held to inaugurate the 100-hectare mixed-use district to be co-developed by Federal Land, SM Prime Holdings, and SMDC at the River Park north of General Trias, Cavite. Okay. Last but not the least, we have DSWD to probe failure to distribute 17 billion ayuda. Okay. Yan po. Those are the front page news on today's Philippine Star. And now let's go to a topic that I know is near and dear to practically all Filipinos ages 2 to 200. Sabi niyo, 2, exaggerated ka naman, Beltran. Hello, marami po. There are so many infants who already have access to a iPad, to a phone, and they're addicted. Yes, addicted. Kasi maraming magulang dyan. Tumahimik lang yung bata, bibigyan nyo na ng iPad. Nako, please improve your parenting skills. But anyway, let's go to our guest today. Solo interview with our guest because he is known as the country's expert when it comes to information technology. He's a cybersecurity expert, etc. Let's bring him in through this introductory video.
Ivan John Uy was selected by President Bongbong Marcos to head the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Uy was previously appointed to the then Commission on Information and Communications Technology in 2010 before it was dissolved in 2011. Uy also served as the Chief Information Officer at the Supreme Court during the term of then Chief Justice Hilario David Jr. Uy completed his law degree from the University of the Philippines and studied at the University of Minnesota under the prestigious Hubert H. Humphrey Fellowship.
Okay, before I engage you, Secretary Uy, please just allow me 1 minute. I apologize to our other guests. We have 2 guests today. The second portion involves a retirement home. Alam nyo, medyo in denial kasi ako. Ayaw ko maisip na mapapadala ko ng asawa ko sa retirement home. But we will be featuring the Raintree group. They are a retirement home which caught my eye because it's something new for Filipinos, but we'll do that in the latter part of our show. But in the meantime, Secretary Uy, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Cito. Glad to be in your program.
I hate to inform you, but you are now one of my favorite people because you are handing. No, because I sincerely, passionately want to see the development of internet connectivity in the country, telecoms business booming, and because the entire nation will benefit from it. And I just noticed, Mr. Secretary, na in all the narratives and discussions involving the new administration, no one seems to be talking about the ICT or internet telecoms, and I even raised that with former Secretary Pernia yesterday, and he concurred that, you know, in all of this, you are either the backbone or you are the central nervous system.
Yes, well, actually, the DICT as the technology arm, no? Communications technology arm of the government, that's one of the main functions, really, to provide technological support to all the other pillars, no, of the government sector. We do not aim to interfere in the mandates of each government sector.
Of course.
So agriculture will still do agriculture, Department of Labor will do their job, education will do theirs, health will do theirs, but we transform them. We transform the way they do things in order to make them more technologically enabled.
Yes, because I've seen this, farmers like hog raisers, lagi kami nagche-check sa website ng isang grupo or isang government agency para malaman ano ba yung farm gate prices ng baboy o ng biik. Is there a oversupply of onions, etc., or what is the projected weather pattern? Di po ba?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head, no? So those technological tools are our job. We equip them so that each of the department will now be able to serve their constituents in a more efficient, more agile way of transacting with government.
Okay,
and
you're not a new kid on the block. You've been around. You've had to deal with all sorts of nightmares, obstacles, challenges, and you continue. You remain the course. You continue where you are. Most other guys would have said, "Ay nako, magpayaman na lang ako sa private sector." But what are the challenges from your seat? What are the challenges?
The biggest challenge really in any technological intervention, especially in public service, no, are the people. The technology is the easy part. When you have to introduce this, you have to deal with, of course, stepping on many vested interests that would resist automation, would resist the prospect of removing discretion from these petty kingdoms and moving it into an automated process. Once you remove discretion, you remove an opportunity for negotiation, for corruption.
Okay,
So-
we tend, when you say discretion and opportunity for corruption, the traditional view is that most of this happens at the level of mayors, sanggunian, city councils, where these idiots have created this imaginary special use permit. And it has been taken to court. And the court, I think the Court of Appeals came out with a decision about 5 or 6 years ago where it said, you can't meddle with that. That is a national concern. But is it just petty politics or corruption that gets in the way? Or are there economic, political, national policies that need to be reviewed? Because while reading the newspaper this morning, or the news tablet, wala na nga palang papel, news tablet, lahat ng request ng Foreign and National Chamber of Commerce were involved policy reform and legislative reform. What about in the ICT and telecoms?
Yes, that's a correct observation, Cito. So as I mentioned a while ago, So it's not just petty politics, but a lot of the frontline services in government gives the frontline people too much discretion. So when you file an application for a certificate, a clearance, or whatever, you fill up so many of these forms, and then once you go to the front line and submit these forms, they can sit on it and not act on it.
Wow.
So and then they will then negotiate with you. They will let you simmer. They will let you wait and wait and wait, and then after medyo hinog ka na, saka ka pipitasin. You wait for your clearance, nagmamadali ka. Lalo na kung nagmamadali ka, no? They will intentionally sit on it, and then pagdating ng isang buwan, 2 buwan, bakit wala pa? That's the time they will say, oh, you want us to put your application on top instead of below. You come across. So if we do e-governance and we allow the public to, for instance, submit all of these online, then you remove the discretion on the front line. And everybody is treated fairly. The machine does not distinguish whether you have given any pampadulas or not. So that's just a simple example. Now, you mentioned about regulatory and policy hurdles. That's correct, no? Our government rules and structure, the laws, the regulations are archaic. Many of them were designed for the industrial revolution of the past.
Kumbaga, dati telegram, ano ba yung PTNT, di ba?
Yes, RCPI.
yun pa. Ako telegrama po,
Telex,
at saka
telex,
radiogram, telex, etc.
Exactly. So ngayon, yung civil service natin, may mga item pa dyan na nakalagay, telex operator.
Aray ko.
Tapos meron pang computer punch card handler or something like that. So itong mga archaic has to be modernized because tapos yung COA natin also needs to understand what is the concept of cloud hosting. What is the concept of video streaming, of managed services? Wala po yan sa so when we go through a bidding like through 9184, all of these were never contemplated. So we face those regulatory challenges, and madalas po, if we have to do this, we have a lot of explaining to do. And kung medyo makitid po yung ulo ng kausap nyo, mahirap po, lahat hindi papasa. And then
okay, let's go for low-hanging fruits, Secretary. Kasi in my column for today, sabi ko, build your own tower. Because I was invited with my family, we flew down to an island. Matagal-tagal na. Sabi, one day lang, gusto mo sumama? Aba, tara, libre naman eh. Sumama na kami, no? I'm being very transparent. And I said, well, I probably leave my phone kasi dulo ng Pilipinas yung pupuntahan namin. Hindi nga napupunta ng mga maraming Pilipino. And when we got there, we've discovered may signal. Sabi ko, paano nangyari yun? Dulo na tayo ng Pilipinas. Doon nga lang sa BGC, namumutla na yung telepono ko, kumuha lang ng signal eh. So, I found out that our host literally built, imbis na water tank, nagpatayo siya ng tower para sa cell site, and he made arrangements with Smart. Believe talaga ako sa Smart. Kahit sa ang lupalop ng Pilipinas, meron eh. So, they put it up. And then, I was reminded of a very rich, very well-known businessman who lives here in Metro Manila. Hindi siya makakuha ng signal sa lugar nila. Ayaw. His neighbors refused to put up a cell site in their area. So, he was forced to put up a la James Bond. I sell a tower na from the underground. Umaangat na ganyan, natatago niya. Pero hindi masyadong mataas, pero high-tech. So I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, no? Pagkatapos, Ako, when I came from Yolanda, I swore to heaven above, come hell or high water, there will be a cell site on my property in Lipa because I saw the ravage and the upset that and the problem when you have no telecoms. So, kinulit ko yung Globe. 18 months lang naman kami inabot dealing with the LGU na dapat daw ano ba yun? Parang baguhin yung declaration ng property kasi commercial daw yun. Sabi ko, hello, tinatayuan na nga kayo ng cell site sa barangay. Tapos ang dami pa. And then mga special use permit. 18 months, nakipag-away ako. Finally natayo. And I was saying in the column, this helps business, health, mga emergencies, military natin in far-flung places na may cell site. Ewan ko, am I crazy na can Secretary Ibanyu, just say, sige, zona libre. I'm declaring the Philippines open country for telecoms. Build your towers anywhere you want. And then talk to President BBM. Bossing, pwede ba lahat ng government property natin, patayuan na natin ng cell site? Because that seems to be at the heart of it.
Actually, Cito, we're already doing that. No, we're identifying government properties that are strategically located, and we are looking at ways of putting up either towers on our behalf. For instance, areas where private sector does not want to go into, so government has to come in and put those up. But however, in areas where the private sector wants to and they have difficulty looking for properties, we're opening up government properties so that they will be able to put up the towers. Either they put it up and then they pay a lease to the government, or we put it up for them and then they pay for being hosted on those towers. So those are the interventions that.
But can't you? And I'm using the word loosely. No, can't you just circumvent that requirement for lease or rental? Because when you think about it, if you have cell sites all over the country, you have an educational channel all over the country. You have an educational platform. You have a highway for financial transactions online. You have a national security presence all over the country. Parang sabi ko, yan ang nagpapatagal kasi alam mo, Secretary, you know this. The contracts and negotiations between private sector and government for one stupid tower takes months. Yung isang kontratang nakita ko, inabot 6 na buwan bago natapos ang pirmahan, Secretary.
Opo. Actually, that's again, no, we go to the archaic COA rules.
Aray ko.
Yes, because that will we don't want to be accused of providing undue benefits to any private sector when government property is used by them. But nonetheless, the lease does not have to be in the form of money. For instance, we can enter into an agreement where the compensation is the telcos provide the bandwidth for the schools.
Correct.
Provide the bandwidth for the communities. So it does not have to be a monetary consideration.
Yeah, but, because there is a law for provision of Wi-Fi in every barangay, correct?
Yes. So that's the arrangements that we can actually make. So it doesn't have to be monetary, but then we are able to leverage the use of those properties to be able to deliver the necessary connectivity to the communities. Kasi kung wala pong mga ganong provisions and we just give it all for free, they can just sell everything to everybody at wala hong naka-allocate for government use, kumbaga. So,
very correct.
Those are the approaches we do po.
Okay, and any other new thing that I may not have picked up on, because I know you like being innovative in your approach. What other things are there on the table?
Well, of course, satellite communications po, especially the islands. the towers, most likely your friend, what he connected there is radio frequency IP, no? It's an RF internet protocol signal. But
mukha lang mukha lang water tank Masabi ko, yung aking cell site palm tree. Parang puno na nyug. Tapos may dahon pa yung akin. Tapos paggabi, nagiging Optimus Prime dahil may dalawang ilaw na pula. Sabi ko.
So we need visionaries, and we need people actually who can think out of the box, no, and be more imaginative in those things. But so with many of these new technologies, what we're looking at really with great enthusiasm is the LEO, the low Earth orbit satellite. And there will be a number of providers there, but the most famous, of course, is the one that Elon Musk has been pushing, the SpaceX program.
I was very excited about that until I realized how unstable Elon Musk is. You know what I'm talking about. Pinasok-pasok na yung Twitter na yan. Tapos ngayon, atras siya. But won't that put us again at the mercy of commerce? Kasi syempre, it's a business. And they can jack up rates. Rates.
Yes, but it's already it will have to be a commercial transaction, and that will be the same with any others. No, whether we contract with PLDT, with Globe, or with Dito, or Converge. It's all a commercial thing.
Okay.
But the Elon Musk satellite will not be the only one that will be out in space. He will have competition. There are others that are already launching their own LEO systems. So, pabilisan lang yan at kung sino lang ang mauna. So, kumbaga, itong si Elon Musk, parang PLDT po ito dati. Sila po nauuna. At dahil may pangangailangan po tayo, then we really have no choice but to deal with them. But when you look at the price po, the price is very reasonable. And of course, medyo may pagkamahal kung bawat tahanan ilalagyan mo ng isa. Pero kung isi-share po yan, let's say, kabit natin sa paaralan or sa mga barangay hall na marami namang makikigamit, mura na po. Mas mura po kaysa let's say, yung VSAT system na ginagamit natin dati.
Okay. Secretary, if you would, we'll go for a quick break. Pagbalik natin, pag-usapan naman natin what needs to be done or what is the wish list of the DICT. Because for the longest time, para bang kayo yung bunso na ito tira, kainin mo yung tira, di ba? And I felt so bad about that. And then always the controversies under your attached agencies or offices, yun lagi ang na-highlight instead of the direction of the DICT. We'll go for a quick break, and when we return, let's tackle that here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and joining us as our first guest today is the Secretary of the Department of, ano ba ito? So, hindi ko na sabihin, intelligence eh. Internet, ano ito? Technology. Paano ba ngayon, Secretary? I always get...
Mahaba po, nakakabulol nga talaga. Information and Communications Technology. Nakakabulol.
Kasi nauna ko lagi yung technology bago communicate. Anyway, excuse me. So, going back, you already have your marching orders. The president wants the entire country connected to internet. Madaling mag-connect ng internet, pero ang speed mo, baka 0.1, pagka ganun. Now, then you have all of these challenges of securing permits, authorizations. According to COA, there was such low achievement rates for the Wi-Fi in every barangay. And to this day, people continue to aspire. We have improved. In fairness to the DICT, in fairness, we have improved. Kumbaga, kahit saan ngayon nakakagamit ka na ng telepono, depende sa budget mo, may internet ka, may data ka. But I find it ironic, like for tourism, for instance, we tackled tourism here on the program, and many of our premier tourism destinations don't have decent, I'm only asking for decent connectivity, whether voice or data. Wow, para kang naghahanap ng radiation o naghahanap ka ng metal detector ba kung saan makakakuha ng signal. What does the DICT need from the president, from Congress, in order to get the assignment done? Kasi I know you want to get the job done, but you've got to have an army and you've got to have the logistics.
That's true po, Cito. And we actually, government is very challenged, no? Especially in terms of infrastructure. So for instance, you were saying about tourist spots. Sa airport pa lang po, pag landing nyo, kahiya-hiya na po yung situation natin with respect to connectivity. So, first impressions last, kumbaga. And we need to build up all those infrastructure. Sa mga tourist spots po, hindi lang po telecommunications ang problema. Mapapansin nyo po, walang health facility na that can address, let's say, mga example, we're always pushing for scuba diving in many of the scuba diving sites. Pero wala tayong mga decompression chambers there. Na kung in case somebody gets into an accident and possible bends, walang pag-asa yung taong yan dahil ililipad pa yan, hahanapan ng aeroplano para makarga at maidala dito sa Maynila. So, those things have to be pre-deployed. Kung magkaroon ng major accident, I think it was Karen Davila, whose child was in Siargao.
Yeah, nagkasugat-sugat yung bata.
Oo, at walang health facility, walang hospital man lang or clinic na may mga first aid na pwedeng matulungan yung bata, no? So those are challenges in infrastructure. So it will have to be across the board. And communications definitely is one of those that's very important.
Well, actually, pag ako kinuha mong 1 peso consultant, ang i-advise ko na lang sa inyo, palakihin na lang natin yung Philippine Air Force Helicopter Wing. Pagkatapos, tambakan natin ng cell sites, lahat yan. Kasi, but that's why I am pushing for cell sites. Kasi sabi ko nga, if you have a cell site in Boracay that's fully functional all over the island, and not where you have to run to the other end to area, area 1, para lang may ma-deploy, then you're doomed. But, okay, so what do you need?
Well, of course, we need legislation to allow us to put those up because ngayon po, because of the local government code and because of the Mandanas ruling, marami pong mga devolved functions at a lot of the governance is given to the local government. So they have a very wide leeway po in terms of determining who enters their property and what are the infrastructure that goes into their jurisdiction. So we probably would need to introduce legislation where if this involve national government concerns, then the national government will have to have stronger.
Wouldn't it be simpler, Secretary Uy, if Congress and the President simply came out with the law? Anything that has to do with the construction or erection of any project involving communications is solely under the authority of the national government, and kayong mga local government, tumahimik kayo.
Well, that would be the perfect scenario po. That will really be able to fast track all of this. So, but in the meantime po, ang approach namin, dahil may mga legal obstacles dyan, is again, to use wireless technology. With wireless technology, you may no longer have to rely on buildings, those towers. An example po is really yung satellite. So,
I'm with you there, Secretary, but the problem is wireless technology is also susceptible to interruption because of weather.
Correct. So that is in the past with geostationary satellites, medyo malaki pong effect ng weather because medyo mataas yung orbit at spread out po yung so medyo mas mahina. That's why when there's cloud cover, mas affected po. But on low Earth orbit, mas malapit po sila sa Earth. So yung signal po mas malakas at they are more resistant to
weather.
Any weather disturbance.
Okay, so perfect scenario is a law that essentially limits the domain of DICT to national authority. So that's a perfect scenario. I hope that there are some congressmen with enough cojones to do something about this. Now, what else? What would be the other requirement? Kasi yung marching order mo from President BBM, hindi biro.
Opo. At least po, kung hindi na po kami bunso, medyo middle child na po kami.
Okay. Kasi there is also the second mandate that financial transactions should be prioritized and digitalized.
Opo. And we'd like to push that across the board po for government transactions. Malaki po ang leakage, no? Whenever they handle cash. At ang nangyayari po in many of these frontline agencies that handle cash, once nag-move po kayo sa digital payments, kahit na doon po using credit card, sasabihin po sa inyo offline para mag-cash po kayo.
Ay, sinabi mo, kumisang gusto ko lang ang batukan eh. Kasi nakikita mo parang, hello, can you be a better actress sa pagsisinungaling?
Tama po. So, we have a strategy for that po. I won't reveal that for now po para hindi natin.
But digitalization on frontliners, cash transactions with government.
Opo. So another legislative intervention we need is to amend the 9184, the government procurement law, and also to restructure the civil service. Help them modernize the civil service, to recognize that ICT workers are highly technical and that we will need to pay them the right salaries to keep them. Otherwise po, ang nangyayari, how do we pay our cybersecurity experts as soon as they gain the knowledge and the skill sets? Highly valuable po sila, kukunin ka agad sila ng private sector. Tapos,
Nako, papakyawin ang mga cybersecurity, like especially now, there is now, I understand, sabi mo nga, ikaw yung guest speaker doon sa first cybersecurity school in the Philippines where the teachers are Israeli National Defense Force experts. Pero ubos na oras natin, Secretary.
Opo.
Akala ko kasi full show ka today. But nonetheless, I will have to ask for your indulgence. Please allow us to invite you back because we want to help the DICT. We really want for you to be able to achieve your marching orders, but also, of course, syempre, yung mga hindi nakakatulong sa'yo dyan sa DICT, bakbakan din namin, if you don't mind.
Maraming salamat, Cito. At alam niyo man po, suki ako niyan sa programa niyo.
Okay. Thank you very much, Secretary. And we sincerely pray that the Lord will bless you, protect you, and give you favor with the President and with Congress, and that people will understand how valuable that DICT and internet and connectivity, voice and data is the spinal cord, the nervous system of the economy and the country. God bless you, sir.
God bless you po, Cito.
Okay. That is DICT Secretary Ivan Uy. We'll go for a quick break. And then ito, yung aking living in denial. Actually, I chose the topic. Uy, ano nangyari sa atin? Mukhang, mukhang malilikot na kamay dyan na direct. Okay, we'll go for a quick break and then we will talk about the first yata na real, honest-to-goodness senior home in the Philippines called Raintree. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. And for our next topic, we are going to be talking about senior residence for senior citizens requiring special care, particularly those with dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. And our guest is none other than Mark Dolben-Bushel, the founder and managing director of Raintree Care Services and Senior Residences. Mark, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Cito. Pleasure to being here this morning.
Okay, your post on Facebook really caught my attention because I think this is the first time I have seen any organization or anyone post about a Philippine-based senior residence facility. Now, some people might say, has he lost his mind in the Philippines? Filipinos take care of their own. He's going to go broke, etc. How did this all happen? I gather you are not Filipino. You are from what country again?
I'm from Germany, Cito.
Okay.
You fully have a point. I think it was not only that he's crazy, but it was partly seen as an affront. Because if you look at the Filipino culture, right, you are very much known to look after your own elderly. So the reason why I came up with the idea was I used to work quite long with the foreign chamber here, and we marketed the Philippines as retirement destination and as medical tourism destination. And I got always approached by Filipinos. So we have the DSWD for the poor, we have the Philippine Retirement Authority for the foreigners, but who's going to look after the middle class and upper class Filipinos? And when I looked at the market, there was such a big need for specialized care for dementia or stroke, because there basically was none in the country. There were a few small ones, and we looked into it, and then I said, I think it's really something that's needed, and I'm going to give this a risk and see if we are going to go bankrupt or not, as you put it earlier. So our clients are 50% Manila based, and then 50% Filipinos returning from the United States. Because if you look at the care costs there, especially now what happened during COVID, you're looking at $10,000 per month. And who can afford this kind of care? And many Filipinos want to return home. And so we created a home for those Filipinos.
Okay, looking at the videos and the ones I've seen online, you've set your place up as a resort, or it looks like a resort. You have the pool, you have the lanais, you have the gardens, but you mentioned special care for dementia, Alzheimer's, or stroke victims. Traditionally in the Philippines, if you come down with a serious stroke or dementia, it is simply just as long as they're comfortable, give them their medicines and they sleep. That has been the traditional technique of families, because they're not really, medical practitioners. But at Raintree, what sort of special care or specialized care do you provide?
I think if you look at stroke patients, which is really a big passion of mine, and I think much more can be done, you have a stroke, you're brought to the hospital. If you can afford, you stay 2 months in the hospital, and most of the time you don't even have a picture on your wall. And if you're in a hospital, you always feel sick. Then you leave the hospital, you're brought back home, but your recovery quite often stagnates during this time. So you are missing the gap in between. And if you look at US or Europe, you have the hospital, you stay 1 or 2 weeks there. After that, the acute care usually stops.
Yeah.
Then you are brought as a transition into a rehabilitation home, because first 6 months are crucial. So we got to work on you with physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech therapists to bring you as fast as possible, help your brain remember what it did before, that you can go home and not be at home 2 years in bed and then you don't get better anymore.
Okay, the business model. Can people bring their elderly relatives just for the therapy portion? Because I have been helping quite a number of friends and associates who have someone who came down with the stroke, a form of aneurysm, and they tell me the struggle of having to get their loved one into a wheelchair, into a van, bringing them to the therapist, etc., or to the hospital, waiting there for 2 hours and then driving back, etc. So half their day is gone, if not more. Can they actually bring someone to Raintree and just say, hey, Mark, can you just give the therapy intervention for my father, mother, or spouse?
At the moment, it's really a stay-in out of 2 reasons. So
I mean, stay in, but just for the therapy and not a long-term. Because my father-in-law, who's Dutch, he stayed in a care facility long-term until he departed. But if someone approach you, we're not looking at forever here, but just for the therapy. Do you accept that?
Yes, we do. That's usually then 3 to 6 months, depending on the stroke, the motivation that someone has.
Yeah.
Our issue is that we are always fully booked. We basically don't have beds available.
Oh, okay.
So before we partnered with hospitals, but because of our high occupancy, it's difficult for us to accept clients.
Okay. Now, so how does your business model go so that people understand? Okay, I have someone who's got Alzheimer, dementia, stroke victim. I need to earn a living. Someone has to take care of my loved one. They go to Raintree. How does the process go?
So what we do is because we are also located in a gated community, so we don't accept walk-in clients. So they call us. We have an initial understanding what is the need of the client. Then we make an online assessment, and then we come up, especially now if it's dementia, also we come up with a so-called care plan. So we discuss with the family what is important for you, for your relative, what were the routines before. Then we come up with a care plan. We send our proposal to the families. They usually ask questions, and then we come up with a contract. But we don't have any lock-in period, so you can basically move into Raintree. And if we don't fulfill your expectations, so for example, you say, no, my cousin doesn't like it, no problem, they can leave the facility basically at any time. So it's really a long-term care facility, but we are also an open door facility. So we wouldn't.
In terms of expertise, who are the people, or what qualifications does the staff or your consultants have for handling special care for this special patients?
So our team is composed of a geriatric doctor, our director of nursing, that's my mom, and nurses and caregivers. What we do is, if you look at the nursing curriculum in the Philippines, you have around 48 hours of geriatric training. If you look at Germany, it's specialization for 4 years. It's a geriatric nurse. So we have a specific training program that the nurses and caregivers, which are used to short-term care, undergo to become capable of doing the long-term care as we give it in a German environment.
Where exactly are you located? You mentioned gated community, but I'm not sure I know where your facilities are.
We are located in Doña Rosario Heights. It's in Sucat, Muntinlupa. I'm a strong believer of the expansion towards the south currently. So we have located us in the south and are currently looking at Nuvali area for expansion.
Okay, that's a good strategy. Now, looking at your facility, very nice to look at. The rooms are very Filipino, if I can say
Salamat.
that. And but in terms of the daily life of a patient, especially, I mean, how do you handle someone with dementia? That person will probably every morning, where am I? Who are you? Why am I here? And things can get loud or rowdy, as they say.
It usually, actually, I consider our place a really fun place. Quite often you think dementia nursing home, it's a sad place and people can look at videos. So we have a daily structure. Even if you have dementia, the structure is so important, and it starts with breakfast, taking a shower, and then everyone does exercises by the pool. Breathing exercises, not only during times of COVID, are very important for the elderly. And we have social programs in our social area. We have lunch, then we have nap time, then we have pool exercises again. So you give them a structure which provides security. All of us know that, but especially if you have dementia. And our staff is handled how to treat people with dementia. Usually, let's say my mom would have dementia. There's so many emotions involved of such a different level, which would make it way difficult for me to deal with a family relative. But if you have this space and you are trained professionally in how to respond, because someone with dementia lives in his own world, you don't say, no, this person is dead already. You can leave them in this spot, especially if it comes up and up again. That way you don't trigger the person with dementia to get noisy or violent.
Yeah, I remember my mother always would tell me, when are we going to eat? And I would tell her, you just ate. And this kept going on and going on until one day I said, I'm going to take a video of her eating. And when she asked me again, when are we going to eat? Here, you just ate. Look at your dress. Look at this dress. I said, no, you're fooling me. She just loves to eat. I said, there's nothing wrong with you. You just want to eat.
The seniors all love sweet. They all do. Yes.
Okay, Mark, there's this issue that recently came up. My wife is from the Netherlands, and we were comparing cultural notes, and we both agreed that Filipino homes, families in general, tend to baby seniors. The minute you become 60 or 65, they think you're incompetent. They think you're weak. They think you should just be resting. What is the philosophy in Raintree?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mention it. We struggle with this as well, because if you baby a senior, they lose their capabilities faster. You need to try to keep seniors independent. So we do a biography. We try to understand the history. And if someone was a Spanish teacher, you enable them to teach Spanish. If someone was loved doing household chores, they continue folding the laundry. So it's not that we are trying to save on staffing costs if our seniors fold the laundry, but it helps to stay active and with the motor capabilities. So we also have chicken. So our seniors are tasked to feed the chicken because many of them grew up 8 years ago on a farm. So we try to bring this back a little bit to have an active lifestyle rather than passive and just sitting in front of the TV.
Okay, I would assume, and I hope it's not a spoiler, but I would assume that you have very limited guests, all patients or residents also, because of the cost involved. Because looking at your facility, it looks more like a resort than a hospital. You have quite a big team of healthcare providers. How many rooms or guests are you able to accommodate long term?
We currently have 27 rooms, and we are expanding on site currently by another 10 rooms. And then we are looking at coming up with a 60-bedroom facility in several houses down in the Nuvali area. So we try to not institutionalize, but always work with family homes to that you have the feeling you're not in an institution, right?
You're in a house.
Yeah, you are in a house. And you need to make small care units because COVID won't be the last outbreak we had. So if you have a few people in a house, the less likely is to have an outbreak.
Okay, what about costs, Mark? Difficult question, but it has to be asked.
It's totally okay. So if you look at Raintree, we started 90,000 pesos a month, which is a very high cost, which around 5% of the population can afford. The long term, you need to build institution with more bed because it helps you to be able to provide cheaper beds. But you also, it's like hotels, right? You have 5-star hotels, you have 3-star hotels, you have 2-star hotels, and there are more and more players for different categories to come into the game. Problem is really for those the class C, D, and E that struggle. During the time with the foreign chambers, we also talked to PhilHealth. There is no plan yet to look at long-term care, and the Philippines is already an aging society.
Is there such a thing in Germany where your health service insurance covers part of? I know in Europe, if I checked in, my retirement or support from the state would pay for that, and when I pass away, whatever is left goes into the facility to sustain the facility.
100% free in Germany. It's all paid for by the long-term care insurance.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So 90,000 at the moment.
90,000 at the moment, and then depending on the care level, or if you want to have a suite, of course, it's more expensive.
Yeah, that includes food, nursing,
aircon,
everything,
housekeeping, laundry, everything except medications and care materials, which is highly individual.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, so it's Raintree, and you are in the Las Piñas. Did I hear right?
The Sucat Muntinlupa.
Sucat Muntinlupa area. You are obviously on the internet. You have your own website, and I wish you well in your business endeavor, because you are doing something good for those who loved us, those who cared for us, and it is now our turn to give back. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Okay, that's Mr. Mark Daubenbuchel, Buchel, I think. Buchel, German. So it should be Buchel, okay. Managing Director, Raintree Care Services and Senior Residences. And some of you might go, wow, 90,000. Well, when you put up electricity for one room, aircon, lights, food, etc., it adds up, and nurse, then it just makes sense that would be the going rate. Okay, let's go for our closing blessing for the day, for the week. Psalm 77, verse 11 to 13. I will call to mind the deeds of the Lord. I will remember your wonders of old. I will meditate on all your work and muse on your mighty deeds. Your way, O God, is holy. What God is great as our God. Okay, and that's it. May the Lord bless all of you. And please, if you can, give your Lala a call, give your Lolo a call, and your parents as well. Love back, because they have loved you. I'm Cito Beltran. Please keep it here on One News PH.